It was the dawn of the 19th century, and across the heart of West Africa, the mighty Hausa kingdoms stood tall, proud of their rich cultural heritage and political power. With powerful cities like Kano, Katsina, Zaria, and Gobir, the Hausa civilization was a beacon of prosperity, sophistication, and strength. But in the shadows, a storm was brewing. An unrelenting force, led by a visionary and ruthless leader, was preparing to sweep across the land. That force was the Fulani. Driven by their leader, Usman Fodio, a charismatic religious scholar and military strategist, the Fulani were determined to remake the region in their own image. What started as a call for religious reform quickly transformed into a bloody and violent jihad, a holy war that would tear through the heart of the Hausa kingdoms, leaving destruction in its wake. The ancient cities of the Hausa were about to be laid siege to, their rich traditions, cultures, and ways of life threatened by a new, unstoppable force. As the Fulani began their conquest, one question echoed across the region. Could the mighty Hausa kingdoms withstand the overwhelming onslaught of the Fulani Jihad, or would they be crushed under the weight of an entirely new order? In this tale of ambition, conquest, and cultural devastation, we'll dive into the blood-soaked battles, the famous rulers, and the profound shifts that came with the rise of the Sokoto Caliphate, a force that would change the course of West African history forever. Hold on tight, because this is the story of how the mighty Hausa were brought to their knees and a new, powerful empire, built on the ashes of the Hausa kingdom, was born. Usman Fodio, born in 1754, was not only a deeply learned religious scholar but also a fierce critic of the Hausa rulers. His criticisms were rooted in what he believed was widespread corruption, moral decay, and a failure to uphold true Islamic values among the Hausa elite. The rulers of the Hausa kingdoms, long entrenched in power, were seen by Usman as corrupt and infidel-like in their practices. Usman envisioned a reformation, one that could restore the integrity of Islam, purify the region, and establish a just Islamic state. This spiritual call for reform soon turned political. Usman preached not only against corrupt leadership but also the need for jihad, a holy war aimed at overthrowing the Hausa rulers and establishing an empire that would abide strictly by Sharia law. His words resonated with many, particularly the Fulani people, who had long been marginalized by the Hausa elite despite their shared Muslim faith. By 1804, Usman Fodio and his growing army of Fulani warriors, Hausa converts, and peasant supporters declared war against the powerful Hausa kingdoms. Usman's jihad was a well-coordinated, religiously fueled campaign that tore through the Hausa lands with relentless determination. Cities and kingdoms that had once stood proud now faced an unstoppable force. The first major battle of the jihad occurred in Gobir, a powerful Hausa state located in what is now northern Nigeria. The Sultan of Gobir, Yusufu, who ruled over a large and well-organized kingdom, initially underestimated the Fulani movement. But Usman Fodio's forces, led by his brother, Abdullahi, began to conquer territories swiftly, gathering momentum. The people of Gobir, some disillusioned with their sultan's leadership, began to join the Fulani ranks. The first significant clash came when the Fulani forces laid siege to Al-Kalawa, the capital of Gobir. The Sultan, Yusufu, unable to fend off the growing army of jihadists, was defeated, and Gobir was forced to surrender. This loss set off a domino effect, as Gobir's fall opened the door for the Fulani to continue their military campaign across northern Nigeria. Katsina, a city known for its wealth, scholarship, and military strength, fell shortly after Gobir. The Sultan of Katsina, Sarkin Katsina, fiercely resisted Fulani forces, But like many other Hausa rulers, he struggled against the well-coordinated military tactics of the Fulani warriors. Katsina's strategic location and its prominence as a trading hub made it an essential target. In 1805, after a series of small skirmishes and negotiations that went nowhere, the Fulani forces besieged Katsina. Many of the local population, particularly Muslims, joined the Fulani rebels, leading to the eventual surrender of the city. With Katsina's fall, the Sokoto Caliphate's influence grew, spreading its reach further across the Hausa lands. Zaria, the powerful kingdom famous for its strong warrior tradition, would be one of the final major kingdoms to fall. The ruler, Sarkin Zaria, Aliyu, refused to bow to Fulani power, even as the tide of war turned. Zaria had long been a city of military might, but the Fulani Jihad was relentless. Zaria fell in 1807 after fierce battles, and its rich history was decimated. The destruction of Zaria marked a major blow to Hausa resistance in the north. Queen Amina's descendants, revered for their strength and leadership, were either overthrown or killed. The fall of Zaria represented the complete obliteration of Hausa power in the northern cities. With Zaria, the Fulani had fully established themselves as the dominant force. Kano, the largest and most powerful of the Hausa kingdoms, was the final bastion of resistance. Its ruler, Sarkin Kano, Muhammad Rumfa, had managed to maintain a strong defense against Fulani forces for years. Kano's defenses were formidable, and the city's wealth and strategic location made it a highly coveted prize. However, after years of mounting pressure from the Fulani forces, the city fell in 1819. Kano's resistance was one of the longest and bloodiest campaigns of the entire conquest. The fall of Kano was a significant moment, as the capital became a key seat for the Sokoto Caliphate's expansion. After Kano's fall, the Fulani Jihad had accomplished its goal. The entire northern region, from the borders of the Niger to the edge of the Middle Belt, was now under Fulani control. The conquest of the Hausa kingdoms was not just a military campaign, it was a cultural and ideological revolution. The once thriving Hausa city-states, renowned for their distinct architectural styles, advanced farming techniques, unique artistic traditions, and vibrant trade networks, were brought under the strict control of the Sokoto Caliphate. The rich culture of the Hausa people began to erode under the pressure of Islamicization. Traditional Hausa religious practices and customs were suppressed, with the Fulani imposing a stricter interpretation of Islam. The Sokoto Caliphate replaced the independent rule of the Hausa city-states with an authoritarian religious system based on Sharia law. The once diverse and pluralistic traditions of the Hausa kingdoms were replaced by Fulani systems of governance, including appointed emirs loyal to Usman dan Fodio's successors. The imposition of Islamic rule extended into education, trade, and daily life. The destruction of the old Hausa order was devastating. Land redistribution and tax changes dismantled long-standing economic practices, and the local, indigenous systems of governance were replaced with Islamic-based emirates. Hausa intellectualism, art, and politics were stifled under the weight of Fulani rule. Despite their military successes, the Fulani faced staunch resistance as they pushed further southward. The Middle Belt, inhabited by various ethnic groups such as the Nupe, Ongas, and Jukuin, rejected Fulani rule. These people, known for their warrior traditions and fierce independence, would not bow to the Sokoto Caliphate. In a series of bloody battles, the Fulani tried to expand their reach into the Middle Belt, particularly targeting regions like Lokoja, Makurdi, and Akwanga. The resistance proved to be insurmountable. The Middle Belt remained largely independent, remaining unconquered by the Sokoto Caliphate. The conquest of the Hausa kingdoms by the Fulani forever altered the course of West African history. With the creation of the Sokoto Caliphate, the once powerful Hausa city-states were crushed under the weight of a new Islamic empire, one that would dominate much of the region for decades. The fall of the Hausa was not the end, but rather a new chapter in the history of West Africa. The Sokoto Caliphate, although immensely powerful, also faced challenges in fully consolidating control, particularly in the Middle Belt. In the centuries to follow, colonial powers would come to subdue the caliphate, but the legacy of the Fulani conquest, the destruction of the Hausa civilization, culture, and the resistance of the Middle Belt would echo through the history of modern-day Nigeria. In the end, the Hausa kingdoms, though crushed militarily, still live on in the hearts of their people, and their rich history continues to shape the identity of the region. The rise of the Sokoto Caliphate marked the end of one era, but also the beginning of another.